Okay, fabulous. So as you all come on in, just sit down and grab a seat and come forward, and we are on Facebook. Okay. So as you all come on in. So I'm Mia Sines, and this is Lori Montry, and we are of the Greatest You Academy. We do have a couple of people on the lines with their cameras off, so they're not showing, but welcome everybody. Hey, Lori, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for today and for our training, and I think that it's really going to be powerful for anybody who is actually, showing up, taking a couple of notes, and really thinking about how this applies to their own life. The topic of today is how to be your own lighthouse, right? And so let's dive in and get started.
So perfect, isn't it? I mean, how to be your own lighthouse is the most amazing experience that one could have. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And really, I mean, these things, these trainings that we bring to you, they are, if you really sink your teeth into them, if you really listen, take the time to listen and write some things down, and then apply it in your life, right? Actually go out and ask yourself the questions. Where is this showing up in my own life? And how can I integrate this work into my everyday? And of course, we're here at the Academy, holding space for that and for your work. If you have questions, put them in the Facebook group so that we can support you and help you along on this journey. I also wanted to mention, Mia, how really truly the comments from the retreat have been coming in, and how powerful our parts work retreat was last Saturday. It was truly just a blessing to be in that environment and to support so many people as they honored their parts and brought them forward for healing and love and compassion. That replay of the retreat is available. So if anyone is interested in purchasing that, then please just reach out and let us know. I do think that it is such a worthwhile event. And like I said, we've been receiving the really great feedback from everyone who not only was there live, but also who participated by replay. So it's a powerful event, whichever way that you go. Yeah. So let's get started on how to become your own lighthouse. So many of us, so many of us, feel like we talk to people all the time, Mia and I, and literally they're describing their experience where, this happened and I feel so bad about this, and I don't have love in my life, and then I took the wrong exit on the freeway, and literally everything in their life, and they just the experience that they're describing to us, it sounds like, they're in a dinghy out at sea, being just tossed about, and with no control, no sail, no rudder, no power at all, just literally being a victim of life circumstance, and it's not a way that we want to live. This is not how we thrive. This is not how we step into the greatest you. It's not how we create. So instead, what we want to be is this beautiful, strong lighthouse that is safely rooted on the shore. And then when the waves come in, life circumstances, right? People's reactions to us, or people's own behavior, things at work, things in our environment, everything around us, when it comes in, it's more like those waves just kind of lapping up against the bottom of our strong structure, but they don't knock us around. We stand there and we can handle them, and they don't take us out of connection with our greatest self. They're just information or opportunities for us to be in those circumstances, molding them and creating what we actually want for our life. Mia, what would you say about how people feel that way? And it's not to judge or anything. I mean, I know that I had periods in my life where I felt like I was in the dinghy. And so I say that with so much compassion and warmth, like that's a real experience, and it really sucks.
It's a very frightening experience to not have the wherewithal in order to literally in order to guide your own boat, be your own lighthouse. It's it drives people crazy, and most people don't know how to adjust in their life. So that's one reason why, as you know, we created this, The Greatest You, and
Absolutely.
why it's so powerful. Every single day we have things coming at us, every single day. I know in my own life, as I go through, it's the same thing. I mostly have it all in a line because I'm used to doing all these exercises and work. When
Yeah.
things come up, I clear it. But sometimes we all get in that space. And to have the tools is the only way to build our lighthouse and to be a lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah. To have the tools in Mia and to use them,
Mhm.
to use them
Yeah.
consistently, that's the only way that they're going to work for us. So let's get into the tool, and this is obviously the tip of the iceberg, which is kind of funny since we're talking about lighthouses and all that, but this process that we're giving you is really powerful. And if you choose to take it and start to work with it, you're going to see shifts and changes. And like I said, me and I are here to help guide that process for you. Post your questions, your comments in the Facebook group. So let's start step one, right? Step one is for you to really know who you are and to get crystal clear on what your values are, who you want to be, how you want to show up in the world. Okay. And that is, thinking through the list of attributes that you hold, that you imagine, for yourself. It could be honesty, compassion, kindness, thoughtfulness, diligence, hard work, commitment, love, every single thing. And you can look up a list of values to kind of help you just, foster that and really ask yourself, who am I at my core and what's really important to me? Right. And that's such an important place. That's kind of how you build your lighthouse, right? And then we want to embody it. But building your lighthouse means really knowing who you are and what your values are. That's one of the things that we do in the Greatest You Academy, is start off with a really strong understanding of your authentic self, right? Who you are and what your values are, in the world and for yourself, as far as how you show up with other people, how you show up in your work, how you just show up in the world. So that is absolutely the most important place to start. Like I said, you can think of that as like building your lighthouse. And then we want to understand, how do we inhabit it? How do we live there instead of at sea? Mia, any
Well,
thoughts on how people can really get crystal clear? In the academy, we have exercises and the videos and stuff, but in this space, how would you recommend somebody going about making that list and really understanding what their values are?
Well, first, I want to say the number one thing, or the thing that was number one on your list, was honest or honesty.
Mm.
And that is, I wanted to address that too, because that's also how you go about building your list. We don't know what we don't know until we know it.
Yeah.
And so we have to be honest with ourselves. It's not lies that we're telling ourselves in order to heal. We're actually healing through the processes of things, which is very powerful. So I also loved how you referred people back to the internet. They could Google what qualities are important. Those are so powerful. You could take there's several different steps you could take here. You could do the dream, believe, create process and pull yourself through. You can begin to journal what you really want so I would start with what you want in a partner, because that's who you need to become. So if you're at ground zero, base level, don't know what you're doing, think about the qualities that you like in your friends that are good. Think about the spaces of a relationship that you'd like with someone else, because we have to be that in order to have that come into our life. So if you want more honesty, look at what that means to you. Exactly where you're going and who you are with your honesty, the love, the freedom. I'm trying to think of all the things that Lori said, but really it's honesty, authenticity, freedom, love, compassion, not just compassion for another, but for yourself.
Yeah.
The things that you need to become in order to be the greatest you. What do
Yeah.
you think about I think that also the journaling of make your list, and then how do you see yourself as being honest? How do you see yourself as being loyal? because these are things that we need to build ourselves up in order to keep us moving forward in growing, in our growth, in our life. What happens when you don't do the work is you get sluggish when you need it. And so then you're like, oh my gosh, I've just had 3 months of an experience myself where I'm on the other side now. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't need to do those tools. Everything was so smooth for me. Well, now it's like I have to dig back into my tools.
Yeah.
So don't let anything go. Keep it up.
Absolutely. And that's why it's good. And I really want to commend all of you for showing up here today, because what a great way to keep doing the work, right? You listen to stuff, you find people that resonate with, and sit down with your journal and spend some time. That's all it is. So good for you for showing up here and doing that. Honestly, we really appreciate that in people. So, maybe you are someone, and part of your values certainly is, I'm dedicated to self-exploration, to finding out who I am and to living authentically from that place. That is a very important value that I hold for myself. So I know that that's, one that a lot of people would hold. There is no right or wrong, right? As far as what values are most important to me, it's just who you are.
Don't we also have to, wouldn't you agree that we also have to know this about ourselves? And even in order to do the parts work or any work with yourself, the inner child, because that honesty has to be there. You have to know exactly who you are and where you're going in order to do the healing work.
I do think so. And I think, Mia, if we looked at every single journey, regardless of what people come to us for, whether it is for health or whether it is to, find more peace, whether it's to fulfill their dream of starting a business or writing a book, or whatever their dream is, gaining more spirituality, whatever the dream is, right? Whatever has brought you to us, the real work, if we could say, here's what we really do. We help you identify who you are and then help you live in that space, because in that space you have so much power and grace and beauty and creative ability, right? And that everything else flows from that. So that is the work. It's the work. It's the foundation of everything that you want, is knowing who you are, who your authentic self is, because that's the only place that you're ever going to be able to create from and truly embody in a powerful way. And that's a good thing. And when we don't feel good, usually it's an indication, oh, I'm not showing up authentically. Or even if I'm showing up authentically, there's something, some limiting belief or some, past wound that is keeping me from owning it and enjoying it and feeling the peace in it. So that kind of brings us to this second step, right? The second step is to really work on accepting the understanding that if you're showing up in a way that is consistent with your values, okay, you're living in your lighthouse, you are navigating yourself with your values and holding those and acting consistently with those, then you don't have to worry about anything else that's going on around you. You don't have to worry about other people's reactions. You don't have to worry about trying to use your behavior or what you want to get what you want from them. You don't have to worry literally about anything. When you're acting from your beacons of light, your values, then you're acting from your place of divinity and greatness, and your life is going to fall into place. It's going to serve you, and it's actually going to serve everybody around you. And that won't always be obvious in the moment. And we talk about this a lot because it's not always clear, right? How your decision to be consistent with your values is going to help somebody else, and certainly not always clear to them, right? You can kind of think of it, when you're really acting from that place of your values and who you truly are, you're connected with your own divinity, whatever that means to you, whatever the source of, your wisdom and grace and beauty and resourcefulness, all of that, you're connected to that. And so you can only serve not only yourself, but other people. I often give the example, and it's a kind of a silly one. It's very simplistic, but you'll understand what I'm saying and really get a feel for how this plays out. Like, let's say, one of my children at 3 years old has a new bike, and they're just dying to take it out on the road because, great big open space, smooth smooth road, of course, why wouldn't you? And they just think that's the best idea in the world. Right. And I have to say, no, my value, right, of keeping you safe and protecting you, I can't let you do that. So they may not be able to see how my decision serves them. And it may feel like the worst, most ridiculous decision in the world, but it actually serves them. And so when we're acting from that place, we can rest assured that even if we don't know exactly how it's going to all play out, we're doing the right thing. We are, navigating ourselves and everyone in the way that will suit us best. Mia, what is your thoughts on when we stand in our power or are consistent with our values in our authentic self? What is the result of that?
It's really beautiful because, especially for those who have done the work, they can witness you and see you. I mean, it's really powerful because you also move along smoothly. You know who you are, where you are, what you want to do, and your life becomes a different speed than it was before, a different pathway.
Yeah. Yeah, one that feels secure, right? Because we're never going to feel that security,
Exactly.
that sense of safety. We're never going to feel that sense of peace and home, being home, right? If we're outside of our values, that's kind of our compass. Right. That we can use our GPS that tells us if we're not feeling that peace, if we're not feeling a sense of safety and security and all the things that we want, we know that we're veering off some way. And that's not a bad thing. We can just simply, oh, look at that. I'm feeling this way. That's my internal guidance system letting me know that I might be getting off track a little bit. Let me look at that and really see how I'm not showing up necessarily in the fullness of my authenticity, my grace, my power. Yeah.
And in that authenticity, grace, and power is where you feel you're the most elevated you've been, literally. And there's nothing greater than working from that space moving forward. It's empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we always talk about, and I think one thing that we do really, really well is help people actually put things into practice. I mean, we like to talk about things, in a more like this more spiritual way, philosophical, whatever, but how do you actually make the what is the term, the rubber hit the road or something? Yeah. Like that? How do you actually use this in your life, right? So you're going to go through your week. You're going to go through and you're going to take this information. You're going to be looking for the places, right, where you are feeling like you're in the dinghy versus in the lighthouse. And that's why I love analogies, because it gives us something to really tie into and to wrap our brains around. But asking yourself at different times during your week, am I in the dinghy or am I in the lighthouse? Mm-hmm. And if you feel like you're in the dinghy, getting really clear what is my values around this? Who do I want to be in this situation? And really tying it back to your values. And hopefully in that way, you're going to start to be able to get yourself back in the shore, get yourself back in your place of safety and security, which is your lighthouse, which is tied to your values, showing up with yourself in that remembrance that you really are the creator of your own life. You have everything that you need. But when we set off and allow ourselves to go out off at sea, meaning kind of abandon who we truly are and not live from that place, that's when those feelings of turmoil and feeling like a victim really come in. I had a conversation with a woman today where she felt like she was just a victim of circumstance, and we started off the call and it was, here's all these things that are going on in my life and I have to go to the doctor and this doctor wants me to take this medication and I don't want to. And I don't have any support in my life. And I say this with all love because I've been there. I know that it feels like, what can I do? I feel so powerless. This is just my life. Right. And as we explored, this idea of, okay, where are you giving your power away? Where are you not owning your values, because that means not only knowing what they are, knowing how to act and actually acting consistently, but feeling good and acting consistently. Because sometimes, like in this case, she had stood up to the doctor and said, no, that kind of medication is not for me. But she still felt there was still a lot of emotion and turmoil around it because she didn't own it. There were things in her past where whenever authority would question her, she would feel like she was wrong. She would question herself. And so you can see kind of that there's a progression to the work. It's number one, getting in touch with your values. Number two, you can be acting consistently with your values. But then there's a third piece, which is owning it and not letting the thoughts and opinions and needs of other people take you away from that. So it's obviously, right, that it's super powerful to be able to be showing up in the world as your authentic self. You're the greatest you. That's what it means to be the greatest you, is to know firmly who you are, be able to act in that, and also to really fully own it and embody it so that it's not rocked by anything or anyone. That's a good place to be. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the best place to be. It's the only place to be. We strive so hard to get there. Keep at it, everyone, because
Yeah.
once you start to feel and you start to build those new synapses and new memories and all of everything that's going on, it gets easier and easier and easier and easier. Yeah.
It really does. It really does. And you find that there are fewer and fewer situations that are making you feel like you're, in the dinghy. If right now you're at a point in your life, a lot of people, when they come to us, they might be living 90% in the dinghy and 10% in the lighthouse. And through the work and seeing what, really identifying and getting connected with their authentic self, which is a whole process in and of itself, but they start to move, where it's like, okay, now I'm spending 20% of my time in the lighthouse, and then 50, and it builds over time that way. But you have the examples, right? And then, so you can see yourself showing up differently. And that's a beautiful process. The journey is in and of itself is really incredible as you watch yourself show up in this way. And then every time you've done that process, so it just makes it easier, right? So maybe we get to the point where it can be like, oh, bam, I had that thought even before it kind of comes, even before it's a wave. It's like we see the wave off in the distance and we're able to, to stop it, because it's just, we've gotten so skillful at showing up that way. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just wondering if anybody has any questions about that, or about how they maybe an experience recently where they saw themselves, wow, I can really see how I was in the dinghy, and how I'd like to be in the lighthouse instead. Anything at all. We've got a minute or two to take a couple of questions if anything is coming up for you guys. Okay.
That's all right too.
Yeah, of course, because usually the questions come after I go and I start implementing and I start looking and noticing, right? And that's why we want to provide that support in the Facebook group. So as you're going through your week and you're thinking about the ways, oh, I found myself in the dinghy. Here's what I'm looking at. If there's any stumbling blocks at all, definitely want to help support you in the Facebook group. And remember too, that if you're having an experience, then whatever you put, whatever you're willing to share, and then what the guidance that we provide, you're going to help somebody else as well, and really help them maybe see something in their life or even resolve something. So that's always a great thing when you're helping yourself, but helping the other members of this beautiful community as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I just want to reiterate again, the parts work retreat that we had was really beautiful, really, really beautiful, everyone. If anyone is interested in acquiring that, Lori did say that there is a link and we can send it to you. And it was just an incredible experience for everybody to be together. Yeah.
Yeah.
in the works.
Okay. Well, beautiful ladies, we'll be back here in the classroom 2 weeks from today with the next topic. If you are somebody who, you've got a topic that you'd like to have us cover or something in particular, we would love to address that for you. So we have some topics, but we can always throw in something else if it's something that you're needing and wanting, because the whole purpose is to support you in your journey towards the greatest you. So whatever it is that's coming up for you, we would love to address.
Absolutely. Everyone have a beautiful day.